How's it going, guys? Welcome back. My name's Nick. I'm here again at MT Performance Engines with my friend Matt Trevina, and today we've got the Holy Grail 4AGE engine. Alright, so pretty cool story about how this engine's owner actually found that. He's actually from the States, believe it or not, and he actually found Matt through my videos on YouTube, so yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what did he end up doing? Did he end up doing like a couple of emails first and then a couple of FaceTime calls?
I ended up getting a random email from a guy. I won't mention his name just yet because, you know, we don't know if we can even release this footage yet. So,
yeah, right.
So, won't say his name just yet, but we'll make that information known later if he gives the approval. But realistically, what happened is I got an email from a guy and he said, "Oh, look, I've got this turbo set up," and I was just like, "Oh yeah." And I mean, I get emails constantly from guys online because I don't post my number. There's somehow if they really want me, they track down my email, and I generally find that those people are more serious about getting something done by me than if they just message me on Instagram or on Facebook. So when I see an email, I tend to action it a bit harder. But
the other thing is you can't accept all the work that comes your way.
It's crazy.
Physically impossible.
I have a full-time job. This is just something I do on the side, and I stretch myself too thin as it is. So I got an email and I thought, oh, okay, I'll have a bit of a read through. And as I scrolled down, I saw this Formula Atlantic car and this engine set up in it, and then I noticed a turbocharger hanging off, and I was like, what the hell is this about? So
it stood out from the rest.
Very much stood out. So this is like something I've wanted to just even touch since I was into 4As as a kid, since I got into drifting and Corollas and all sorts of things. The Formula Atlantic motor was always the holy grail of 4As.
Yeah, same for me. I think anyone that's into 4As, this is the pinnacle.
Formula Atlantic is like the pinnacle, and everyone tries to associate it with some sort of initial D sort of thing, but it's a 20 valve Group A motor that was in his car.
That's right, yeah, it wasn't even one of these Formula Atlantics, yeah.
But Formula Atlantic was the best 4AGE that was ever made, aspirated, so it was, so that was just sort of where the people got the misconstrued, like,
yeah.
But this is the, you know, this was a competitive car. It did race in the Formula Atlantic series back in the day, whether it was this engine or something very much like it, but this is a true, genuine Formula Atlantic engine. It's not a Formula Atlantic spec that you'll see in a Toyota Sprinter, and I'll just give you an idea. I'll show you exactly what makes this an actual Formula Atlantic engine. If you come around here, you can stay there, I'll just spin this around. If you actually look down on the side of the block here, you'll notice that the wings where the gearbox bolts on are actually missing, and that's because it won't fit in the actual chassis of the vehicle with it. Now on the back here, a part of the dry sump, you have an adapter for the transaxle gearbox. These are the gearbox bolts down here. So if someone says they have a Formula Atlantic engine in their Toyota Sprinter, it's not, because the gearbox won't fit, because it's a transaxle.
Another thing that's pretty cool is that these are actually an engine mount off the cam cover.
Yes.
So that cam cover is very important on a Formula Atlantic motor.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of the Formula Atlantic guys don't like seeing Formula Atlantic parts on street cars, because they really need them to run their cars. Otherwise,
they don't bolt in the chassis. Yeah.
That's actually a stress member.
It's a part of the structural part of the car. So the actual chassis of the car bolts onto this, and it actually sandwiches the engine up in it.
I will actually just add, would have been about 6 months ago, I actually managed to get a contact that could get me Formula Atlantic parts. And I've got a video showing you. Remember that when I brought it over?
Yeah.
Just I had it wrapped up in a couple of rags, and I showed Matt, and just your reaction was priceless.
Yeah, I've always wanted a set of these covers.
We'd never seen them in real life.
No, photos and all sorts. Yeah,
I can stitch that video on top of this just so you can see, but I'll have to black out the cover because my contact doesn't want to be associated with street car guys. So pretty much, his thing was I have to paint the cover before I post anything, and I hadn't painted it at that time.
Yeah.
So I'll just black it out, but I'll add it on just to see your reaction.
Show the reaction of it.
It was great. Yeah.
Oh, I think I know what this is.
I
Way.
I was going to tell you about it,
I
but
know
I
what
wanted,
it is.
I wanted a video.
I already know what this is.
What is it before you
The
open
Former
it?
Atlantic cover, isn't it?
How did you know that?
I can feel it.
Oh, fuck.
I've never got one before. Where did you get it? Oh, it's a legit Hasslegren one. Where'd you get this?
Oh, it's a secret, man. I can't tell you.
This is a legit Hasslegren cover, bro.
I won't tell you on camera anyway.
Wow. Dude. Oh man, this thing is cool.
Don't get this wrong. This is not a gift. This is mine. Just, you know, I'm just showing you.
Damn it. Oh man.
I brought you an empty box, not a cam cover.
This is so cool. I mean, it's so rough in its creation, but it's so cool, eh?
Apparently, it's magnesium.
It is. You can tell
Yeah.
from the weight. Maggie too. I don't want to touch a grinder to it, but it blows white sparks. But yeah, it's as you can probably tell, the intake manifold isn't independent throttle bodies. This one's actually been custom made, and half of the reason it's here. So if we have a look, it's got 2 injectors per cylinder. It's a billet intake runner and a carbon fiber top. Now, this was made, I'm led to believe that it was made by an IndyCar builder. So that was the technology that they use in IndyCars to try and keep weight down. But unfortunately, they haven't been able to make it work on this setup. So there was issues with intake manifold leaking. Like you can see that different types of glue that they've had in here, and
Yeah.
you got red and black, and
I was having a sneaky look and I just saw the part of the wiring harness actually still had TRD on it.
that's very cool, isn't it? I did spot that when I unboxed this.
And you still got the same connector on there and everything.
Yeah.
So very, very cool stuff.
Very cool. So this is built by Hasslegren. This is a big port head, so it's not a small port head. They have done their own custom rear head drain at the rear. This started life as a street going block and a street going head. So I don't know what's going on with it, but I can tell you for a fact right now, intake manifold leaking is going to lose air density, so air mass, so it's not going to work, especially when you're calculating air mass from a map sensor. If it's not reading the correct pressure inside the manifold, well then it doesn't know how much air to put to it. It was on methanol fuel, and the exhaust manifold leaked like a sieve, and I'll also show you that. You can see here on the exhaust side the different amounts of glue that they've had, and you can even see that the sealing was terrible, so the thing just leaked like a sieve. So I'm going to be doing a new head gasket system.
Even the cam cover there.
Well, that's glue, but it's I don't know what they've used, but it seems pretty bloody good. Like
I wonder if it has something to do with the way that they tapped in the.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Because
Because I think that you're probably going to more likely to use glue than a rubber seal, because like you say, a rubber seal, if the engine twists, which it would, you're going to get the seal breaking. But glue, this is really rubbery, really incredibly good.
that's something that I really like about these covers, and it's one of the reasons I really wanted one of these ones in particular, was the way that they mount onto the head. It's a real pain to get. So it's obviously you're going to have to drill and tap your head to mount this cover, which is a pain. And then also in order to get this cover on, you have
modify
to get the caps, the cam caps.
You've got to shave the outside down just so it fits on. Yeah.
So it's not as easy as just getting a cam cover and
putting
bolting it on.
Yeah.
And also another problem is it's set up for dry sump. So
you've got no oil filler. How are you going to put your oil in?
No oil filler, and there's no breathers.
No breathers.
And there's no what is it called?
Baffles. Yep.
No baffles, and what do you do? So that's the thing. It's either, it almost would be easier just to go dry sump, rather than trying to modify this thing, which is magnesium. And how do you modify magnesium?
You can weld magnesium, but you got to find someone to do it. And you got to find the filler neck for magnesium, and and find bungs that weld on bungs for AN fitting that are magnesium, and then weld them on too. So it starts getting
it's pretty extensive, and then you're also modifying a pretty rare piece that you don't really want to mess with too much.
No.
I actually spoke to a guy on Instagram, Billy Edmonds. He actually has a motor just like this one, built by Hasslegren. He's over in the States, and he had a 4A in his 8.6, was 11, and he said that these engine mounts here at the top, they actually interfere with the bonnet in like a 4A, and then when he went to a 7A, he actually had to cut the framework of his bonnet to make it fit. So That's the other thing is like, and his engine mounts are actually ground down flat. So it's a pretty extensive thing just to have a cool cam cover.
Yeah.
But it is, you've got to admit, it's pretty damn sick.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, there's not too much here to talk about other than the fact that it is, you know, the Hasslegren 4AGE. It is a big port, which is not normal to them. If we have a look at here, we'll have a look at the dry sump system.
Oh yeah, we'll flip it over, eh? What about the cam gears too? They're pretty damn cool.
Yeah, Hasslegren cam gears.
Yeah.
I want a set now.
Yeah, right. They look pretty cool.
So I've just completed this engine stand too, which allows me to bolt the former Atlantic engine on this because it doesn't have those wings on the side. So normally what I do is my engine stands, I have a bell housing and I bolt the engine to the bell housing, which allows me to just, you know, assemble the engine and even test it. So I even put a flywheel on it. I think you had that in your video. Did we test your engine on the stand?
Yeah, we did like an oil pressure test.
Yeah. So this engine stand, obviously I can't do that. So I believe also that the flywheel in this would probably be about this big, and the clutch plates would also be very, very small, just due to the fact that we're not running a full-size engine. It's for a Formula car which weighs 400 kilos, 500 kilos.
The other thing is you could probably just put a drill on the dry sump pump. Would that be able to spin it quick enough to get you a bit of pressure?
I don't know.
On here.
Oh, oil pressure, definitely. Yeah, you can spin them up, but then you got to have a tank and lines and plumb it all up.
Yeah.
And have it gravity fed and stuff, so then you can actually test it. But realistically, I could potentially do that, but I'm pretty confident that I wouldn't have to do that on this engine.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, what I'm going to be doing is tearing it down, doing an assessment. We'll be going with a firing head gasket system to seal the boost in. I don't know if this head gasket system's been leaking, so I'll be checking that. I'll be also doing a firing system for the exhaust. So each exhaust port will get its own little firing for the exhaust side. Yeah, so that's something I thought up about trying to get the new system to seal. The old turbo manifold on this had an incredibly long runner, massive runner diameter, and it was made of thin wall tube. It leaked like a sieve, it didn't work. So I've gone ahead and got made by Ben at Third Strike a custom steam pipe manifold, using the original manifold from this to jig from, and then we've shortened the runners up, high speed merge collector, and so it will bolt back straight in the car the way it was in the States. Like Nick said earlier, this car isn't from Australia. It came to me in a box with the engine management system, the shift tech computers, everything for the paddle shifting. We're changing the ECU over from a Cosworth Pectel SQ6, I believe, to an Mtron KV8. So
what a shift tech computers? Is that something to do with the gearbox?
Yeah, it's for the paddle shifting. So it's a computer that has runs a compressor pump and a compressor tank.
Yep.
And then it monitors pressure in the tank.
Yep.
And then when you do a shift selection on the paddle shifting, I've got to get you. Have you seen the steering wheel for this thing?
No, I haven't. No.
It got sent over. It's unreal.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's the full. It looks like a Formula One steering. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
So Angus has got that because we're doing all the CAN bus integration onto the thing.
Yeah.
Onto the steering wheel. But when you do a gear selection, it sends a request to the ECU. Then the shift tech computer says, okay, yes, I have the available air pressure there for it. So it drives the solenoid for the next gear. And
is that standard with the Formula Atlantic car, or is that something they added?
I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm not sure. I believe his gearbox is a later model version to the earlier ones. But I mean, this has had a lot of changes over the years. I think it was a competitive car for all the year changes, and it kept staying competitive.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's a modern thing that he's adapted, but it's all there in the car. So it's all shift tech and bloody Cosworth and stuff. So
cool.
Very, very cool stuff. But if we have a look here, it's interesting to see the dry sump system. Some of the dead giveaways is this hose clamp here on the base of the oil filter tells me that this was running well and truly over 120 pounds of oil pressure.
Oh wow.
The reason they put the hose clamp here is because they separate. So if you run well and truly over 120 psi of oil pressure, you'll actually separate the oil housing. It explodes from that point. So if you put a hose clamp on it, it stops them exploding.
Wow.
So you can run over 120 psi.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see obviously they've added the rear head drain in at some point because this fabricated line here doesn't look to the same standard that the system is here.
Yeah.
So there's a few changes that they've made here. So as we're doing this video, I'm basically looking over it myself for the first time. I only just finished this engine stand off the other day, got it back from powder coating, assembled it. This was a normal engine stand that I modified for casters, and the frame that holds the engine in. So I've never actually seen this engine like this before, so I'm seeing it for the first time with you guys.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. Another thing that was interesting, I was actually interested to see what kind of coil packs it was running. Just to see what coil packs I could put on my cover. But even that's custom. They've made something else.
Made a bracket that fits inside there, yeah.
So.
Yeah. Bosch. There's a part number on there too. 3-wire, so smart coil. Interesting. I don't know what they are, but we'll soon find out. So yeah, twin injectors. I guess this thing should flow a fair bit of fuel, so they're expecting to make a fair bit of power with it. I guess there's not much more to it other than the fact that it's just got some pretty cool custom stuff, and I can show you what I've noticed. So if we look down here, the dry sump oiling system has the main pressure feed come through here, and we have like circlips and lines, and these look like Lego. They've just sort of been pieced together to extend up. If you come in here, Nico, you'll be able to see these pieces in here just look like Lego, how they've been spaced in here. Now that oil line will run through the front cover up into the main oil gauge. So this actually feeds through the front oil gallery plug of the block, because if we look on this other side here, that's blocked off, which is from the oil pump feed, and then the feed into the blocks here. Now this was his turbo line, so he wasn't feeding oil into the center of the block. He's feeding it in from the front. It's the only place it can go. Wow. So I believe that this billet front piece here, which has H power engraved into it, I'm assuming that's going to be Hasslegren, has made that for him. And it's feeding directly into the front of the block, which will be really interesting to see when I pull it all apart. Standard sort of procedure when it comes to timing. He's got a multi-tooth wheel here on the front to get his crank speed and position, and then he's got a single tooth home up on the intake cam. So one of the things that you'll find with if you run it on the exhaust cam is you're going to get belt deflection, because that's the loose side of the belt. So the tight side of the belt's less likely to get oscillation on timing if you run a crank home position on the intake. It's really cool to see. And it's probably something I'll incorporate into my 20 valve system when it comes time to do a trigger system for it. Yeah, because everyone's doing it off the exhaust cam, and it makes sense to move it to the intake cam side, because all it does is change your trigger pattern. You just got to program into the ECU. Yeah. So, right. Yeah.
It's a small alternator as well.
Yeah. So everything is to save power. So the smaller your alternator, the less horsepower draw on the engine. So he's obviously scaled it at 1:1. By the look of it, pulleys are the same size, so 1:1. So it's quite a lot of RPM for that little alternator. Yeah. And if the engine revs to 9 or 10,000 RPM, that thing's got to spin there. So I'd assume these are very much a consumable item.
I was going to say they might go through a few of them.
Yeah. You can see the exhaust side tensioner. Yeah. It's an alloy pulley. He's just got bearings put in here. This is all just custom made stuff.
It's not really like as tight, like, you know, when we did mine really came right around. It's just touching just to stop that deflection. Yeah. Be cool to get one of these for my motor. The oil
Gilmer drive. Yeah, they call it Gilmer drive. Yeah. It's it makes a hell noise. Hey, they sound like superchargers.
Like a supercharger.
Yeah. So Gilmer drive pulley on the front here. You can see it's welded onto the front. I don't know how looks a bit funky. These look like they've been powder coated. You can see it looks like almost like it's dipped in rubber. Right. So I'd assume that's to protect the tooth and the belt from wearing out. Yeah. These gears are beautiful. These are Hasslegren gears. They're absolutely gorgeous. Look, ARP bolts on the adjusters. ARP bolt in the center. They are just gorgeous. Yeah. I want to set so bad after seeing them here. Hey.
Yeah, that's right. And this intake. Obviously, they were trying to modify it and do stuff to make boost, but are they the intakes that came on those Atlantic cars?
No. They had independent throttle bodies on the Atlantic motors.
I mean, like the actual carbon piece that goes on top. I think that goes out the side as like a cold air intake.
Yeah. No, this isn't that piece. No. Oh, right, but they would have had the carbon box. Yeah, for the cold air from outside the bay.
Yeah, so they've changed that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is completely custom for this arrangement.
Right.
I mean, I don't know who's made this, but it's a gorgeous piece. I mean, you're talking about a billet runner piece here that bolts to this plate, and then that plate's then glued to this. So it's going to be awesome to pull apart. What I'll be doing is I'll be actually probably using this exterior plate here, and then I'll be fabricating an alloy manifold off the top of this with a bigger throttle body inlet. And this sort of stuff here, when it comes to like turbo setups, in my experience, I've never seen these work that well. I mean, they're looking for air distribution and density across the face of the manifold, but realistically, in my experience with turbocharged setups, you're trying to move a bulk amount of air. Having these restrictions and stuff in here isn't going to help us when we're trying to make bulk horsepower. So
the restriction here just was, the idea is to make the same pressure on cylinder 4 as it would be for cylinder 1.
Yes.
Even though the intake's at the front, you sort of want to make it the same at the back.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at RB26, 2JZ, Hypertune or Plasma Man intake manifolds, which we use quite a substantial amount of, those don't have that issue. All they have is a single throttle body there into the plenum chamber, which then tapers back to cylinder 6. Now, you add a percentage of fuel trim into the back cylinders on those manifolds. Some are better than others. The short runner length doesn't give you, it gives you overall horsepower in the top end. So unless you're revving an RB or a 2JZ to like 10,000 RPM with a Hypertune or Plasma Man, you're not really gaining benefits. The best thing you can do is run a factory manifold on a 2JZ. They have really long runners that sweep up and around, and just put a drive-by-wire throttle body on it. And then you get massive amounts of torque through the middle range, and then you lose some in the top end, but the gain is negligible.
Yeah, that's right.
But the gains through the middle range and the bottom end are massive. Yeah. So, but this will have to go. This can't stay.
Even the shape of those Hypertune manifolds, the way that they've shaped it and tapered it down to the back, they do flow test them, don't they? So that does probably have a bit of development in it. It's just it's just different to this setup here.
So they do it in software. They flow test it in software. So I'm going to be working with Adam Marone at World Speed. He'll be working with me to construct an alloy top for this, and then welding it. And he's going to be actually modeling this and then flow modeling it on software to make sure that we're going to get somewhat close to where we need to be with flow. In saying that, we will have exhaust gas temperature sensors in it, because we're going to be running on E85 and or methanol. So just depend. I want to try and keep it on E85 because it's much safer for the driver, and we can still make a heap of power on it. But if it requires it, we will go to methanol. But even still, like I say, exhaust gas temperature sensors, and we have control of an M-Tron, so we should be able to trim out those cylinders and make it perfect on the fly. So it's really, there's a lot going on here, man. Have a go at the amount of connectors this thing. If you see the engine harness for this, Angus at Pro Sport Electrics, I'm actually wearing his shirt right now. He's doing the conversion from the Pectel Cosworth ECU to the M-Tron, and we're using the original harness, repinning the ECU and adding in extra sensors and taking a few sensors away that we don't believe are even necessary. So we'll it had some strange stuff, but yeah, so we're going to be we're going to be sending this home pretty much ready to start. It'll just go in the car and turn key, really. But there'll be obviously some tuning aspects that need to be done with the paddle shifting and most of the stuff, but it will turn key and start when it leaves here. Yeah,
cool. It'd be very interesting to see where it ends up going, man.
Well, hopefully we can do, if we get the okay to air this video, I'll be able to show Nico some of the pull down videos as we go to build it and stuff. So when it's all torn apart,
are you going to concrete the block like you've done yours?
The problem is with concreting, if I concrete it now, it's already machined. I need to know what sort of pistons are in it. If it's a single compression ring piston, which these high horsepower aspirated motors do, it's not going to seal enough cylinder pressure. So I need to put a second ring in it. So I might need to change piston and rod combination. I just don't know anything about it yet. So
until you open it up, who knows? Who knows what's
going to happen. I mean, like you say, I hope it has two compression rings, because then I really it's only a light machine. I'll just change the head gasket system, change over the exhaust manifold to the new style system and sealing system for that, the intake manifold, redo the harness and stuff, and it should just be a check over. I mean, I guess I'm an okay engine builder, but I'm competing against Hasslegren, one of the best. Like these guys were building engines when I was a kid, so
and they've got some records under their belts too.
So I don't know how I can do better than them, but I'll give it a red hot go.
Red hot go, that's
So,
it. Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, I think their experience doesn't lie in turbocharged application, where I've spent a lot of time with turbocharged stuff. So yeah, the tuner that they had for the Cosworth Pectel also had dramas getting in from the UK during the virus season that we had. So they found it very difficult to tune the car when they had an opportunity because the tuner couldn't come into the country. So like you say, with M-Tron, the support's there to have like remote tuning, and local tuners in the States are starting to really adopt the technology now and come across to the Aussie product. It seems to be a bit of a game changer when it comes to this sort of stuff. So we're going to chuck it in and give it a go and see how it all pans out. But yeah, it's a really, really cool setup. I can't wait to pull it apart and see what it's like inside. Really keen to see the ports, see the valve sizes, how they've cut the seats, all the racy stuff that I can move back into the aspirated technology that I'm still sort of not up to Hasslegren's spec yet.
Almost reverse engineer it.
100%. I've got it here. Why not have a look at it? But,
that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. Perfect. I just turned the camera off. We just finished filming this Formula Atlantic build, and Matt just stuck his head underneath the motor. He literally just like looking at the motor for the first time now with me, and looks like he just noticed that it looks like a rod just came out the bottom of the block. So we're just going to flip it and have a real good look at it now. So check it out.
Is it dumping any fluid?
No, no, you're good. Where'd you find it?
I'll let you see if you
it's
can.
welded up here, yeah. Shit. So as I was editing this video, we actually got the go-ahead from the owner to upload some videos about his engine and car. So here's some pics that I have of the motor when it was still in the car back in the States. The owner's name is Merle Swan from Swan Motorsports, and he's actually building the car for the Pikes Peak hill climb, which is why he's chasing so much more power. And he's actually modifying the rest of the car to bring it up to modern day standards. Hopefully as time goes on, I'll get some more info on the progression of this car, and when I do, I'll be sure to share it with you guys. Now with that said, be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos on this build, and let us know what you think in the comment section. Thanks for watching.